we take you to the very latest in the world of business. The JSE is firmer so far today, with global markets mixed as investors looked ahead to the U.S. Federal Reserve's monetary policy meeting and the local medium-term budget policy statement on Wednesday. Grant Nader of Benguela Global Fund Managers, who's a senior portfolio manager, joins us now for analysis on the latest market moves. A very good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time. The local currency has managed to crawl back a lost gain so far today. What is driving those moves there?
Yeah, I'm very encouraged by the performance of the rand. I think what's really driving it is we've seen some of the fears overnight that were being reflected in the oil price through the actions in the Middle East have softened, so oil's come back a little bit. We also saw some softer inflation prints in Europe, France, Germany and the Eurozone, which are actually quite supportive of easing pressure on the interest rate outlook, which actually is quite supportive of the rand. So there's a number of factors in play. Perhaps there's a little bit of optimism around the budget announcement tomorrow. So let's see how that plays out. But the rand is trading well, and it's very encouraging at this stage.
AB InBev has published its third quarter results. Perhaps help us make sense of that performance.
Yeah, it was actually a very good performance, I think, in the context of what is a difficult environment. And it's also quite difficult for a company like this to grow in a meaningful way. They grew organic revenue at 5%. Everything was above expectation, so the market was expecting a little bit more challenged. They grew their earnings at around just over 4%. Now, this is ultimately a single-digit earning type of company, so not too bad. They managed some good cost control, slight margin depreciation, but ahead of expectations again. And what stood out as well was they saw this playing out in Africa and South America, and they saw a stabilization of their market share losses that we saw in the US. So for the last 6 months, that volume loss has stabilized. And of course, if you remember, their Bud Light went from being the top selling beer in the US to from a market share of 10% down to 7% on that fiasco post their failed marketing campaign. So that seems to have stabilized. That's another positive. So on balance, not a bad set of numbers. The market likes it. It's up about 3.9% today so far.
And Sasfin results for the year ended 30 June of this year are out. How have they fared?
Well, for starters, I think it's a relief that they put the results out. It's never a good sign when results are delayed. As it turns out, that was the auditors needing to finalize their investigations around the wrongdoing last year, the fraudulent actions of certain employees. The management, the main senior management and directors have been cleared of any wrongdoing. So that's been put to bed, which is a relief with regard to 2022. So on the top line, they grew at 7% on the income level. What they did find was that they had severe cost pressures. Costs grew over 10%, which translated into a loss in earnings of around 20%. So that wasn't very positive. The ROE's fallen below 7%, another sign of pressure. You'd like to see a significantly better return there that is below the cost of capital, no doubt. But they did grow their loan book at over 11%, and if they're still well capitalized at around 16%. So there are some positives. They've undertaken a strategic review. They're going to sell off about 3.6 billion worth of what they now regard as underperforming business segments, and that should help streamline and improve the future outlook for the ROE and the returns to shareholders.
And then there's some exciting news for Tashes, which is set to open in the UK in November at Battersea Power Station. What do we know about this move?
So I always love to see something like this. It just shows South Africa's entrepreneurial spirit. From what I can tell, they have this is their first one in the UK that they're opening. But we must remember they have 6 restaurants in the UAE, which are apparently very successful. They bought this company back from Famous Brands in 2019, and they've got some significant global ambitions. This is the first of what they see as 20 to 30 in terms of what they expect to open in the UK. So it's quite ambitious, but I like it. They say they employ mainly South Africans, which is another positive. And they have plans to open a restaurant in every major city in the world over the longer term. So I think that's great. I love to see that kind of positivity from South Africans. So let's wish them well and see how it goes.
Yes, we wish them well indeed. Thank you so much for your time and weighing in on these topics. Grant Nader of Benguela Global Fund Managers there, joining us for an analysis of the latest markets and the latest developments in the world of business.